So we do hear a lot about gratitude all over the place. But the question is it really important to actually practice gratitude? So welcome to tonight's episode of Super Aging. I'm Marianne from One Life to Flourish. I'm a wellness mindset coach and an intuitive energetic healer with a focus on helping people at midlife to make changes. We'll just kind of promote their wellness and their healthy mindset, particularly as it focuses on aging. Now, tomorrow is actually World Gratitude Day. So I thought it was probably a good idea to get back and talk about gratitude again. I have talked about it a few times. So let's start off with what gratitude actually is. So think of gratitude as being both a positive emotion and an action or actions. So one definition that I quite like is that gratitude is a deeper appreciation for someone or something that creates lasting positive feelings. And then because of those feelings, we're actually able to take action to show, particularly those people or other people, that we do appreciate them. So the question is, can developing those positive emotions through gratitude help us to live longer? My short answer is yes, it can. So tonight, though, I'm going to start just with telling you a little bit about my experience with gratitude, and then we'll get into a few of the details from there. So gratitude was one of those really, really important things that I discovered during my transformational journey, which started back in 2017. So I had changed my eating habits, started exercising, let's be honest, got into mindfulness and meditation. And the next thing that I discovered was gratitude. And probably out of all of those things, gratitude ended up being the one that opened me up the most to look for opportunities, to connect with people, because before that I had been so miserable and down and whatever that I just kind of acted, I think, like, someone living away in their own little cave and just ignoring everything else that was happening around me. So gratitude was really, really important to me. So I really believe that practicing gratitude is great for everyone. But for those people who watch the show, you'll know that I also like to bring some science and stuff like that into it. So let's have a little bit of a look at that. So there is actually a link between gratitude and I suppose longevity, living longer. So whether the link is because you're grateful you'll live longer, or whether it's because of some of the other effects, I suspect it's probably because of some of the other effects, but who knows? There's lots of research around it. So let's look at some of the impacts that come through from research. There's lots of them, but I've picked out 7 for some reason. But anyway, so the first one is that you are actually more likely to form relationships, and they will tend to be more positive relationships. Now, this was my experience. I basically used to hide myself away until I started to practice gratitude. And then all of a sudden, I just had an ever-expanding group of acquaintances and friends and, better connections with the people that I already knew. So we tend to draw people to us when we're more grateful. So the next thing, I already changed this when I went on my journey, but it has been shown that when you practice gratitude, it'll actually improve your overall physical health. So grateful people actually feel fewer aches and pains. So, if you're struggling with aches and pains, maybe bring a bit of gratitude into your life, which can be hard sometimes, but has been shown gratitude equals fewer aches and pains. But also being more positive about life just makes you more positive about getting out, moving and doing things as well. So that leads on to the next one, which is the fact that gratitude does improve your mental health. And this was the big one for me because I really suffered from, depression, anxiety sort of states more than anything. So I'd kind of go through. So gratitude actually really made a big difference. And there's lots and lots of studies around this aspect of gratitude in particular. And they've found all sorts of things. So one thing is that gratitude actually helps us to reduce our toxic emotions. So things like envy, resentment, frustration, all of those kinds of bit toxic emotions. But it also, because it's improving our positive emotions, it's also reducing, those feelings of being down, those feelings of being depressed and so on. So there's lots and lots of research about its effect on our mental health, which is great. So probably to add on to that is that gratitude actually helps us to actually increase our feelings of empathy. And the flip side of that is that it actually reduces aggression as well. So grateful people tend to actually act in more positive social ways, which moves them away from being more aggressive, because that's more of a negative social action or interaction. All right. But they also tend to become more sensitive and aware of just the emotions, the feelings, the needs of other people. It helps you to sleep better. Yes, particularly if you spend about 15 minutes before you go to bed actually writing in a gratitude diary. And the research has shown that this will actually help you to sleep better and sleep longer. So, sleep problems, why not give it a go? Now, gratitude improves self-esteem as well. So basically, when we're practicing gratitude, because we kind of means that we're sort of looking more out of ourselves rather than into ourselves. So we tend to appreciate the people around us more and the things that they're accomplishing. So we kind of do less comparisonitis, for want of a better word. All right, because we're not comparing ourselves so much to others, it actually helps to lift our own self-esteem. So, we enjoy what other people are accomplishing, but we can see ourselves in a more positive light as well. And then the final one that I'm going to talk about, remember there's many others, this is just some that I've picked out, probably the ones that I've experienced myself. That's why I've probably focused on these ones. But the last one is it actually increases your mental strength. So gratitude's actually been shown to help us get through really difficult, even traumatic kinds of circumstances by building up our resilience. So we actually become more resilient people, which is a really positive thing. So gratitude gives benefits to everyone who practices it. But let's go back to my question. Does it help you to live longer? So yes, is again the answer. And let me just summarize it for you. So basically, these are the things that you get from practicing gratitude. So you have more and better relationships. Your physical and mental health is improved. You become a more empathetic human being. You sleep better. You have an increased self-esteem, and you are more emotionally resilient. So all of those things are part of the picture of someone with longevity. So there's, other things that come into it as well, but there's some of the really strong depictors of someone living a long life. So there we go. Gratitude, good thing to do. All right. So next question is, how can you practice gratitude? There's actually many, many, many different ways you can do this. Okay, I basically have two, but you can go in whatever ways you want. So find something that resonates with you, that, makes sense to you, that's enjoyable to you. But there's two things that I do. The first one is I actually have an app on my phone that I think is just called Gratitude. That basically gives me daily reminders that I need to write something down. So I actually write down the things that I'm grateful for. If I'm feeling a bit stuck, it'll kind of give me a little prompt if I ask it. And, I just kind of write it down, say I'm grateful for this and this is why, and it just gives me a nice little boost at the end of the day. The app also has some inspirational quotes. It also has different affirmations and just other things that can sort of help you with being grateful. Hi, Myra. How are you tonight? So the other thing that I do is I actually do a regular handwritten journal as well. Now, this is more just general reflection, but I also include in there things that I'm grateful for. So I'll talk a little bit more about just generally journaling and writing things down at some other point in time when I decide. So basically, they're the things that I use. That is by no means all of your options. I could go for a long time talking about them, but here are some things that can just give you that feeling of gratitude. So the first one is to actually, because remember, gratitude is about focusing outside of yourself, and then because of that, you get some positive emotions. So some of these are about how you can focus outside of yourself. So the first one is to just, when you're out and about, and as long as you don't have to be wearing a face mask, of course, just kind of smile at people or, say a hello or just kind of acknowledge that there are other people around you. And, particularly if you do this in a setting where, you're kind of meeting people, say in a meeting or whatever, then you might actually be able to connect with people and grow your network. Find a friend. The next thing is to actually practice saying thank you to people. So be really specific about it. What can you acknowledge people for doing, even down to little things? It's amazing how much that can boost people up and just kind of give them that really great feeling. So, what are people around you doing all day long that you don't normally do? That you kind of don't acknowledge them for. So, you work in a shop, so you've got to do that. That's good though. So think about it rather than a got to do, something that's going to help you, but also boost the people that come into the shop as well. So it can be a really positive thing. I spend all day, interacting with people as well. So I try and think about it as a positive so that everybody benefits, basically. All right, next one is to do probably random acts of kindness is one way to think about it, where you just kind of surprise someone. But even just think of just daily things that you can do to be kind to someone around you. So a little bit of planning sometimes, or it can just be really random. It just, being kind helps to boost those positive emotions as well. Yes, I agree, Myra. Definitely. It's a nice thing to be nice, isn't it? You kind of feel like you're doing something positive without having to, just really expend a lot of energy on it, maybe. All right. If you know people that you haven't seen much, and this could be relevant for people who are in lockdown, maybe think about sending someone a card. A bit old-fashioned, but there's something a bit joyous about getting something in the mail, isn't there? Especially when it's a card where in there is a really nice sort of note about you and thanking you, appreciating you. So think about how that would impact someone else. But if you don't want to go down the old snail mail kind of way, then you could always send them a nice email as well. So, reach out to people who are not immediately near you as well. Other things you can do is actually take photos each day. So this is if you're not big into writing. Take some photos each day of things that you're grateful for, and then store them in a special folder on, your device, your phone, whatever. And that way you've got somewhere you can go. If you're feeling a little bit down, you can kind of go, oh, look, here's my grateful folder. What did I put in there? And that can boost your mood as well. Another really good thing, actually, I'll probably do this a little bit as well. Find some quotes that you really like that just kind of give you that positive boost, or even some pictures, some posters, images, things like that, and just kind of post them around where you spend a lot of time during the day. So it could be places in your home, it could be somewhere where you're working, just as like a little reminder to be grateful and to think of something to be grateful for during the day. If you spend a lot of time on social media, why not use it? Post each day your things that you're grateful for and see if other people respond with theirs. You could, sort of have a little bit of a wave of gratitude going out and around. So that's by no means the biggest list that you could have, but it's some different ideas to get you thinking. There's all different ways that you can build that feeling of gratitude, get that positive emotion going. So being grateful is absolutely a powerful thing. I can honestly say that starting the habit of being grateful each and every day really became life-changing. And when I look at what has happened since then, I can kind of see the total impact, I suppose, of just that one change. So my question is, that seeing as tomorrow is World Gratitude Day, what are you going to do today to build up your feelings of gratitude? What might you try? And then is there a habit that you want to try and build into your life where you're being a little bit more specific or focused on building gratitude? Have a think about it. I would actually love to hear of anything that you've come up with, something that's happened with you around being grateful. So enjoy tomorrow, World Gratitude Day. See if you can spread a little bit of positive emotion in your world, and think about tomorrow, what are 3 things that you are grateful for? I'm going to start you off because today I managed to get a new gratitude journal. I don't know if that's coming through fairly well, for free. Ooh, that's something to be grateful for, isn't it? So I love my journals. Nice one there. I'm so grateful to get that. All right, I'm going to say have a great week, and join me next week for the next episode of Super Aging. So not sure what I'm going to talk about. You'll notice there's a theme there. This week I had intended to talk about forgiveness, which is a fairly big topic, but a really important one. So I'll see what comes up during the week, but that may be where I'm going to go next week. So be grateful tomorrow. Be grateful every day of your life and see what impact that can have on you. Have a really great week. Bye.